Greetings, travel enthusiasts, and welcome to another episode of Travelpreneur. I'm your host, Mega McSwain. Today, we are joined with Renee Areng, the president and CEO of Explore Brookhaven. Hello, Renee. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Meg. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Renee, Explore Brookhaven plays a crucial role in enhancing the city's image and tourism activities. How does the organization cultivate a genuine sense of belonging and community, bringing people together locally and otherwise, and creating a lasting impression that resonates with visitors and locals alike?
Well, Mega, we are a relatively new organization in a relatively new city. So we spent 2019 doing brand strategy for just that reason. And what we learned from the more than 700 interview surveys and participants in symposia was that Brookhaven was considered a very welcoming community, and we created a sense of belonging. We're a very diverse community.
Mhm.
So a lot of cultural assets. We have a lot of wonderful outdoor spaces for walking and enjoying with your friends and family and furry friends, as well as chef owned and run restaurants.
Mhm.
So everything is very authentic here. We don't have any big boxes except for Costco, which is a drawer for travel in itself. So
Right.
we find that the citizens of Brookhaven are very engaging with the travelers. And we also use our opportunity to promote the different neighborhoods to all of the neighborhoods in Brookhaven so that people will get outside of their live, work, play space and go to
Yeah,
another space.
get out of the bubble. That's always a
Hmm.
problem, I find.
Exactly.
Just yeah.
Yeah. And that
So
proved very successful during the pandemic, as you can imagine, because we didn't have a whole lot of out of town travelers.
right. Well, I was going to say you just mentioned you started in 2019 and then you're hit with this crazy situation. And
Yes.
in this case, it seems that it worked out. People are sort of wanting to explore and wanting to get out.
Right. So we joke in Georgia that North Georgia and the coast of Georgia had no pandemic. But I think that's why Brookhaven did as well as we did. It's because we have such great outdoor spaces, and so people felt
Right.
comfortable.
So integrated marketing campaigns are a key aspect of Explore Brookhaven's strategy. Can you elaborate on how these campaigns, along with advertising, social media, public relations initiatives, how they drive visitors to Brookhaven specifically and how they showcase its unique offerings?
Well, being a relatively new organization again, we are still really dipping our toes in lots of pools of water. My experience over the years that I've been doing this is that layering your messaging helps reach multiple audiences. And so we've done some print, advertorial, and advertising with a company called Hoffman Media out of Birmingham. It's a locally owned and managed media company that has a very loyal following. The subscribers keep their magazines and refer back to whoever was referenced in that magazine to encourage their travel, as well as social media, paid Google, SEM as well. For events, we have engaged with a billboard company here in the Atlanta market to put messaging up in our surrounding feeding markets.
And part of Explore Brookhaven's mission is to boost economic opportunities within the city as well. So, how does the organization collaborate with local businesses, local hotels, and other stakeholders to create a thriving ecosystem that benefits both tourism and the local community?
What we know in the industry is that the way that you get a person to move or to bring his or her business to a community is to have them visit there first. So we partner with economic development and the chamber for all the messaging on why
Mhm.
Brookhaven is an outstanding place to live, work, and play. And we encourage our residents as well to share that messaging. We just had someone interestingly come in the door that was at our international festival last weekend and was asking for some brochures and information on Brookhaven so she could put it in her new neighbor's mailbox. So we do have some printed materials, a Brookhaven magazine. The issue that
Mhm.
we have right now is the Discover issue. So it's about all of our outdoor space opportunities. And then we've also had a culinary issue, and we'll have another culinary issue next year. And we put those in all of the hotels to encourage people to choose Brookhaven restaurants. We have offered in the past some discount Uber codes to the
Mhm.
restaurants to share with their guests. Interestingly, we didn't get a whole lot of use for that, but it was a great attempt to encourage people to come into Brookhaven. And then we have a special website that lists all of the restaurants by neighborhood. So if you were
Okay.
staying in the Murphy Candler or Blackburn area, it'll show you the restaurants closest to you kind of thing.
It sounds like it's a foodie city or foodie centric.
We are, yeah, which is
Really?
great
That's
because I'm
great.
a foodie too. So,
Yeah. Yeah, me
yeah,
as well. And I feel like that's always a draw.
yes.
If people have to be somewhere for work or, you can always look for fun in food.
We have a classically French restaurant called Petite Violette. And I was lucky enough to live in Europe when I was in high school, so I'm quite the critical taster, and
Right.
they do a
Yes.
really good job, and they're doing an Oktoberfest this month, so they're doing all German influenced cuisine, so my husband and I are going Saturday night, so yeah.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
So, in today's dynamic travel landscape, I mean, things have changed so much just since 2020. How does Explore Brookhaven stay adaptable and innovative? I mean, I feel like even, I guess, starting in 2019, you guys have experienced changes that you probably didn't even expect.
Well, interestingly, Mega, I was on a panel for Destinations International last year in Toronto, and there were 3 of us whose destination organizations had been created in or around the pandemic. And we all were talking about what that looked like and how we could be a little more fluid and flexible than an organization that's been in the workplace or in place for 40 to 50 years, because
Right.
they had KPIs in place that their boards and their communities expected to stay the same, right? Number of rooms sold, number of visitors every year, that kind of stuff. And so what we talked about was that we were creating experiences for the travelers and for the residents so that we're not measuring by numbers, we're measuring by sentiment. And so we have not done a visitor intercept survey since 2019, but we have that on the books for 2024,
Mhm.
hoping that 2024 is what the new travel looks like. We're still experiencing some group business not being back and some corporate business not being back, but leisure travel is certainly strong. And so on this panel, at the end of the panel, had a young woman. First of all, it was standing room only. So obviously this was a hot topic for people, you know.
Right.
I had a young woman ask how we thought the new expectations of the workforce were going to affect the workplace. I chose to answer her from the panel. And basically, what I said was, ultimately, it will never be the same. We
Right.
will be much more flexible than we've ever been. But in the end, our mission is to bring people together. Therefore, we have to come together. It may not look the same as it used to, but definitely we will come together. I think
Right.
collaboration is the key to creativity too. So I do better in an environment with others. And so we've been in the office 5 days a week since May of 2020.
It is nice to have that, to be able to have that, especially since the pandemic, because it really does create have the juices flowing of creativity, and especially with such a new organization. That's
Right.
really great that you guys are able to do that.
We spent the last 3 years really kind of establishing relationships with our industry
Mhm.
partners, sitting down one on ones with our hotel partners and our restaurant partners, building out our website, building out our social platforms. We even created a Brookhaven store with Brookhaven branded merchandise because there was none in the market. And that's done really well, interestingly. We have a new line of candles that just came out that will be scented based on the neighborhood. So we have Murphy
Mhm. Oh,
Candler
I
out
love
right now.
that. That's
Isn't that
cool.
fun? I know that was one
That's
of our
really
team
cute.
members'
Yeah.
idea. I love it too. So we have one out for Murphy Candler, so the other 4 will follow. We're trying to be as conscious as possible about positioning Brookhaven's brand, making ourselves available. For example, the city is building a permanent city hall that should be complete in the summer of 2025. And they've asked us to manage the meeting space in that facility. So they will have publicly available meeting space for rent where you can bring in caterers and all of that. They'll have rooftop space and outdoor space. So we have talked about moving Taste Brookhaven from one of our hotels to that space in 2025. So just to continue putting the Brookhaven brand out there.
This episode is brought to you by TravelPayments.com. Travel businesses have unique needs when it comes to credit card processing. From large average ticket sizes and tolerance for higher chargeback ratios to simple integrations with the most popular shopping cart systems, the travel industry specialists at TravelPayments.com have you covered. Unfortunately, many of the most popular credit card processors initially accept travel businesses, but without warning, freeze their merchant accounts and the thousands of dollars in them because these service providers don't understand or support the unique needs of travel industry business. Don't get stuck with one of the big guys who will freeze you out without a moment's notice. Instead, work with a travel industry specialist who will support your business every step of the way. Visit travelpayments.com to get a free quote today.
I'm curious, you mentioned social media. I'm in Houston and we do this a lot. I know the tourism board does it here, but do you all incorporate influencers or bloggers to kind of highlight these specific, maybe it's a photo worthy place, or maybe it's like a restaurant or something?
I think we had 10 influencers at Taste Brookhaven this year, and we've hosted, oh goodness, probably 20 throughout the year.
From out of town and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, there are a lot of Atlanta-based. And then we also work with a public relations firm, Laurie Rowe and Associates, that have just done a bang-up job for us. Just really good. Most of her team are Georgia-based, so they can be right here when we have an event or something, which is great. They've done some really good publicity for us. We hosted a DEI and travel space conference last year through an organization called Travel Unity. And it's the organization that you can become a certified diversity travel professional with, which I did in 2020. And they were able to get the press for that picked up by the AP. And we got something crazy like 8 billion impressions worth $100-something million. And I was just like, whoa, that'll take zeros off of that. And it's great, So they've done it. They're considered a smaller communications company, but they deal with those of us that are off the beaten path a little bit. So they do a good job.
And isn't it amazing what kind of viewership you can get with something that seems so small, but you get a lot of eyes on it. That's amazing. Yes. I know you mentioned, the new survey for 2024 and just kind of getting an insight on what people want or what you have planned for the future, but what's your vision in the coming years? How do you plan to sort of further solidify this company's position as a prominent player promoting Brookhaven tourism and economic development?
We have had some deeper conversations with city leadership about becoming a little more involved in the economic development first steps, like when they bring potential investors into the community to let us be part of the hosting process so that we can share some of the Brookhaven lifestyle with them, if you will. That is definitely in the works moving forward. As a matter of fact, we had a city department head meeting on Tuesday that they include me in, and the economic development director said that he had a shopping center that had been purchased by another investor and that they wanted to rename it the Shops at Buckhead, not Shops at Brookhaven. And I said, oh, let me have that conversation with them, please. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And he was like, happy to introduce you. It's getting it ingrained because we're a new city. Not everyone knows where the city limits are. Like we hosted Taste Brookhaven at the Hyatt Regency Villa Christina, which is at the northernmost part of Brookhaven at 285. And one of the restaurateurs that is in Brookhaven said, why wouldn't you host this in Brookhaven? I'm like, we are in Brookhaven. And they were like, no, we're in Dunwoody. I said, no, we're in Brookhaven. So it's figuring out those little lines. And we partner with our surrounding cities a lot, Sandy Springs and Dunwoody.
That helps.
And we're doing an international event in December in Memphis with Travel South that we're partnering with Roswell and Sandy Springs with, because the international traveler doesn't just sit still, right? They go all over. So part of the dynamic of Brookhaven is that more than 25% of our population are Spanish speaking. So we try to do as much as we can in Spanish, and the city does as well. So I have fluent Spanish speakers on staff. We have a Spanish Instagram, just making sure that we are catering to the locals as much as possible too.
Right. And as an industry expert, what advice would you offer to other destination marketing organizations and professionals looking to emulate Explore Brookhaven's success?
Don't do it during a pandemic. Not that any of us had control over that.
Right.
My husband and I, our careers are both funded by hotel revenue. And we looked at each other like month 3 or 4 and said, what were we thinking? I mean, like, seriously?
Yeah, but nobody, did you ever think?
No.
I mean, did you ever think restaurants would all the restaurants would be closed? That's just something that you don't even fathom.
Well, and no, just the opposite typically, because we were in destinations that were affected by hurricanes and oil spills and just the opposite happened. We had first responders come in, spend 3 to 6 months in our hotels, paying us the occupancy tax the entire time, and then they leave the destination better than ever. So this was certainly, hopefully, a one-off. I would say that know that you aren't necessarily a reflection of your visitor or your guest, and to listen to what they have to say. I think one of the things that's big picture for me is signage. We have a lot of trails that aren't obvious. And so I want to work with the city to get signage out so that visitors can find the trails. You can find the parks, but not necessarily all the trails. And so
Right.
those are all being developed for both biking and walking. That is quality of life stuff. And people like to
Definitely.
travel where people like living.
This has been really insightful, Renee. I appreciate it. I really think that we could talk again in the future, and I would love to hear kind of how things have changed and
Sure.
progressed with Explore Brookhaven. I think that there's probably a lot to come in the next couple of years, and that's very exciting. So I appreciate you sharing your story and a little bit about Explore Brookhaven. Let our listeners know where they can learn more and where they can reach you.
Okay, so I can be reached at Renee, Renee, at explorebrookhaven.com. All of our channels are Explore Brookhaven, at Explore Brookhaven for Facebook, for Instagram, for LinkedIn, and for website.com. Hopefully our SEO is strong enough. If you just type in Explore Brookhaven, we'll come up. There are a couple of other Brookhavens in the country, unfortunately, but hopefully we come up first in SEO. Yeah, I mean, we have the Peachtree Creek Greenway that's being developed and will eventually connect with the Beltline, and just a lot of great, a lot of great plans and visions. So I'd love to chat
Right.
with you again.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like it. It sounds like we'll have a lot more to talk about next time as well. Thank you so much to our listeners. Please follow and subscribe for future episodes and leave reviews. It really helps us. Thanks so much, Renee. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Mega.